Hello and welcome to the Comic-spiracy, episode 421 for the week of whatever this is, Monday, April 11th, 2022. My name's Ryan Higgins. Who's here with me?
Well, tonight it doesn't work to say "and Kevin."
Just Kevin.
So
Brock. Kevin's here.
Yes.
Brock is supposed to be here. Bay Area's been going through a bunch of power outages. We've had some crazy wind and stormy weather that we don't normally have, and I know a bunch of people lost power this week or this today. So he's going to jump on if his power comes back on. He said his neighbors have power like across the street or like down the street. So hopefully it's just limited and he'll be on before we wrap up. But yeah, it's freezing out.
You're echoey. Are you double mic'd?
Am I echoey? Oh, I am. I'll mute this. Yeah, I had something weird happen. So we have last week, my audio occasionally gets crappy. And it's just something stupid with Zencaster, the recording that we use, where it occasionally defaults to my webcam mic.
Oh,
but it seems fine today. So it's something I have to keep checking every time we record, and I hate it. I'm like, why do I sound like shit? Oh, it's recording off the wrong mic again. I didn't change anything. I don't know why he keeps doing this. Anyway, yeah, Brock might jump on if his power comes back. We'll see. We'll see if he gets back in. We got some random stuff to talk about. Some NPD sales charts. A bunch of big auctions that ended this past weekend. Kevin, you said you went to WonderCon though. I definitely want to hear about this. I wasn't sure if you had gone. So
yes, that's where I was last weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite con, and my first time back since 2019. Yeah, it would have to be 2019. Yeah, so I'll just give a brief wrap up. The big difference this year from a normal year, and what really had me on the fence about going, was there was really no publisher presence at this version. No DC, Skybound, IDW, the usual suspects. Marvel doesn't really come to WonderCon, but the California companies do.
Yeah.
So no publisher presence meant really not a no, panels or announcements or things like that. So this was a con purely for fun for me, like just going to a con as a con goer. But I will say that beyond that, what I just said, the show floor was really good. It was a typical WonderCon. The only difference was the absence of panels and publishers, but the show floor itself and the artist alley were really actually a usual WonderCon year. They had a lot of comics dealers, maybe even more than I remember from last time. Original art dealers, a big artist alley area, and a lot of vendors of all different, not just a bunch of pop booths. I would say, you know what? Actually, thinking about it now, here's an amazing statement. I think there were more comics vendors than pop sellers.
Wow.
I know, right?
Surprising.
Yeah. It was pleasantly surprising.
I think that's just going to be the case for every con this year. I don't think any publisher, no movie studios, no major companies, San Diego is going to be the same way. It takes a year, if not years, to set up these booths, to prep everything, to get the talent there. They're not just going to like, oh, and here's Chris Hemsworth. We're going to roll out this random panel. Like, no, It's not happening this year. Sorry to everyone going to their first Comic-Con this year, because I know a few people that are going for the first time. It's not going to be a real Comic-Con. It's just not. It just can't be. In January, hell, I didn't even order free Comic Day stuff the way we normally do, let alone try to set up a $1 million booth at a massive publishing, a massive convention. It takes so long to prep this stuff. And that was my fear with WonderCon, was that it was going to be maybe a fun con, but not WonderCon, not what it has been.
Yeah. But everybody who's going to San Diego, don't listen to Negative Norman here. You could still have a great time at the show, even if there's not Hall H.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're not going to get, I just don't think any convention this year is going to be that big major, what we got just so used to the last 10 years of conventions. I mean, there's plenty of celebrity cons that are still happening. Yeah. We're supposed to get the one in San Francisco. I know like the Star Trek cons have started to happen, like the Creation cons. So like some of it's coming out, but It's going to be at least another year before I think anything is back to quote unquote normal. And that, of course, all depends on what happens this winter.
Right.
If numbers go crazy and everyone's masked back up, and then who knows?
I think what you will see this year, though, just having looked at kind of planning my own con schedule for the rest of the year, what you will see is actually, I mean, obviously, you'd wish the pandemic away, you'd wish things back to normal. But if you want to look at a silver lining, you can have a really good comics convention at a lot of these big shows, meaning like comics guests and comic-based stuff. You're not going to have a lot of studios and quote-unquote celebrities. But if you're interested in comics and comic creators, you'll have some real opportunities this year when there's more room and there's not that agenda dominated by movie stuff, TV stuff, video game stuff.
So the attendance may be a little bit lower, but I think a lot of people are still just waiting to get out to the conventions, so they may actually not be that low. But you're not going to have people taken away for panels. You're not going to have people taken away for special screen signing stuff at their own booth. So if people are at Artist Alley, in theory, they should be there the whole time.
Yep.
Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, IDW, Boom, none of those guys are going to have any real booths, not like they normally do. I just can't imagine it. So if there are people there, then they're going to be at Artist Alley,
right? And that's what the experience was at WonderCon.
Yeah.
You would
what about like comic art? What are the groups? The comic sketch art and are those guys?
Yeah.
Because that's not like those aren't like huge.
No, they've done shows this year already.
Right. That's what I mean. It's the smaller.
Yeah, they get like 2 or 3 tables side by side and have all their artists there. Essential Sequential is another one that does a lot of cons. But at WonderCon, the experience was somebody was usually at their booth or at a panel. And so you could pretty much track down anybody. It was funny, though, talking to David Walker, there was a huge, the longest description in the WonderCon program book was the Naomi panel for the TV show. Mm-hmm. The Star of Naomi, and it said also other guests to be announced. So talking to David Walker, I'm like, oh, you going to go to that? And he's like, so Bendis and I and Jamal Campbell did not even know this panel was happening until seeing it in the program when I got here. Like they weren't even invited.
Wow. Yeesh.
Right? Yeah.
But they had a panel for Naomi. That's actually
for the show.
I think that's actually more surprising than them not being invited.
Right. I just find it, I did not attend that panel, but I found it weird that you have the co-creator on the show. And he said Bendis was going to be at WonderCon until like a couple of days or a handful of days before when he couldn't make arrangements for he likes to travel with all his kids and they couldn't make that arrangement. So, but you would have had the 2 co-creators who weren't even told there was a Naomi panel. Good planning.
Well. But I mean, I hate to say it, but they just never have the comic people on those type of panels. They just so rarely do. But I'm actually surprised that they had a panel for Naomi. That's actually more than I thought they would have. I just figured like almost none of this stuff would be out there.
They had Naomi and Mythic Quest were the 2 big like media panels.
I don't even know what Mythic Quest is. Is that an old video game?
Is it
Mythic Quest?
Yeah, Mythic.
It's the show that Rob McElhenney does.
Oh.
Yeah, it started last year, I think, or maybe in 2020. It's on
I don't know
Apple.
what this is. Oh, I don't know what this is. Well, it sounds like it's about video games, so I'm sure it's terrible. But it does have Rob McElhenney. I like him. Anyway,
yes.
I like him. He's great. WonderCon. Did you buy anything? Get anything cool?
I bought. I kind of held myself because this was like I said, an on the fence con, and knowing that there are bigger and more expensive ones coming this year, I kind of set myself a budget. So I got 1 sketch, 1 omnibus, and 1 comic, and that felt like a good balance.
Yeah. I spent $20 at the toy show. That's about the most I've spent there in years. So
I think I spent 10 at that.
That's about my usual toy show spending. So
Oh, the last WonderCon item I was going to say, the other weird thing that threw me off was Kevin Smith was there with his panel, and I've never seen him other than at San Diego.
Yeah, that dude's at a lot of stuff.
I know your favorite event to go to.
I used to love him. Less of these days. Whatever.
Yeah,
guy made some fun movies. That's the end. No ill will. Just I moved on.
Well, I happened to the computer where we're recording. I happen to have the WonderCon program still up, and here's the panel, the Kevin Smith panel, and here's the panel that's competing with it at the same time in the room next door. Is called "How to Get People to Stop at Your Booth." Good planning.
Ugh. Yeah. Have Kevin Smith there. Stop. Yeah. I'd asked. I even asked Toby about is he going to WonderCon? Is he going to Comic Con? And I don't even think he's going to Comic Con this year. So, light year for cons. But you're going to make up for it.
I'll make up for it. Yeah.
Lane's going to a couple.
Yep.
We'll have you guys talk about it. Are you going to Comic Con?
I'm going to Comic Con for sure.
Okay.
As of right now. Lane's going to Emerald City for sure as of right now. So I'm planning to do 3 big ones this calendar year.
Okay.
As I speak right now on April 11th.
Yeah, I may try. I want to try to do Comic-Con more, but not this year. I'll probably wait till next year. I'll see if I can go next year. Although it's such a crapshoot with Comic-Con, and especially after the last 2 years. I don't know. I'm sure I've talked about this before, but in theory, I get 1 free ticket to Comic-Con every year. But the problem is there is no guarantee, and we literally don't find out till shortly before. So the year I do a bunch of planning is the year they're going to be like, sorry,
right,
no free tickets to Comic-Con this year. We comic stores because especially after the last couple of years with Diamond, I don't know what that relationship is like anymore. So comic stores get 1 free ticket and can purchase 1 additional ticket.
Yeah.
At full price. But who knows what that's going to be like going forward. So if that meal ticket's over, then I'm not going back anytime soon because I don't know how the hell I'd get in. But yeah. So we'll see. I should take more advantage of it while I have it, because once it's gone, it's gone. Yeah. Well, Kevin, you should have been saving up your money instead of going to this convention for some of these heritage auctions that ended over this past week.
Yeah,
because a couple things sold. I want to go over a little bit of this. I never know how to pronounce this guy's name. I've never heard it spoken live or out loud. I'm sure you're going to tell me how to do it. Superman artist in the 90s, worked on Death of Superman. John Bogdanova.
I think it's just Bogdanov.
Bogdanov?
Okay. So I heard somebody say it. Is there
an accent to it?
I've heard somebody say it that way, and I've heard somebody say it Bogdanov.
But I've
never heard him say it. So
I don't know that I've ever actually heard someone pronounce his name, so I'm not sure. Bogdanov sounds
John
right.
B.
John B. That's the Brock method right there. John B.
Yeah, exactly.
He had his personal collection sold on Heritage, including the cover of the Death of Superman trade and the 2-page splash panel of the two-page splash page of from was it the Superman Man of Steel 20? It's the carriage with the coffin with all the heroes coming behind it from Death of Superman. So the cover of the trade sold for $204,000. That's the one Lois is holding, Superman, he's all bleeding out with the cape behind him. The splash page sold for $50. A bunch of the other issues, like the first Doomsday, his hand fully coming through. So the first time you actually really see a part of Doomsday, sold for $19. The first actual appear. I think this is actually maybe the first page that Doomsday's on, like in his like that wrapped costume thing, sold for $24,000. Like every page is like 20-30,000. Multiple pages of him and Superman fighting. There's like a half page splash where Superman gets like impaled. That's sold for 84,000. Like I think everything sold for well over it was well over 500,000. And then there was the Man of Steel cover and a pinup illustration. It's the two with this is all from 0 Hour, if you remember these covers, where Superman's in the middle and there's all the different Batmen from like all the different art styles and eras surrounding him. And then there's a reverse that it's Superman or Batman in the middle with all the different Supermen around him. Like, I don't know if you've seen these.
Yeah, I'm looking at it
covers.
now as I was trying to refresh my memory. And yeah, it's that cover is with the different eras Batman, right? I'm not to that yet.
Yeah. So those each sold for 15 to 20 grand each. So some very, very cool pages sold, especially all the early Doomsday stuff. I mean, that's extremely classic at this point. The splash page for the first solo Silver Age Captain America story.
Oh yeah.
From Tales of Suspense 59. So this was after Avengers #4, where Captain America comes back. A splash page by Jack Kirby sold for $630,000. So that's a big one.
And don't forget, any of these prices on Heritage, you've got to add in the juice, the buyer's premium, which would probably. So, I'm not logged in on Heritage right now as we're recording, but I'm going to guess $50K on that was buyer's premium.
Yeah, so you're paying Heritage on top of that seller. Yep. So big money for these. And then the cover for Dark Knight Returns issue #3, which is it's Carrie Kelly down below, and it's just like the big bat symbol. And there's actually it's like a two-part cover. There's like the overlay of the bat symbol's like an overlay on it. That sold for $264,000. But the big ones, a new record for Fantastic Four #1, CGC 9.2 for Fantastic Four #1. So one of the best known copies. There might be higher, but not many. I'm not logged into CGC right now, so I don't look at the census. Sold for $1.5 million. And Captain America #1, a 9.4.
No.
Sold for $3.12 million. So that is pushing Action Comics numbers there.
Yep.
And Detective Comics, Detective 27 numbers there. Good Lord.
Oh, I can't remember if it was Hakes or Comic Link at WonderCon in their display case had a graded Superman 1 for $1 million. You could just buy it there, not for auction.
Just sitting there.
Yep, just sitting there
cool
in the case. $1 million price tag on it.
Bust out the black Visa.
Yeah. I remember, you know what? I thought the listeners might enjoy that thing that I sent you, that Batman #1. I saved the description, the graded. So everybody, here you go. This is a Batman #1 that was there CGC'd. The grade was a 0.1. I sent this to Ryan and to Scott. So I've never seen anything graded lower than a 0.5. I didn't even know that they shaved it that fine. Because once you get to a 0.5, that's like a garbage book. This is a 0.1.
That's like a 0.5 is like basically, it's like borderline unreadable.
Yeah. So here's the description of what gets you a 0.1. Amateur restoration includes pieces added to cover, reinforced, left edge of cover and last page trimmed, 2 center page or wraps detached, 3 pieces of tape on cover, 9th through 24th page and back cover missing, with a note after that saying affects story. Shocking. I would hope it affects story. Jesus. And then in big letters at the end, incomplete. And that Batman #1 with that description and that grade was priced at, you could walk out, no auction, you could just drop your credit card, $65K.
I'll offer a cool 60.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I bring a lot of these up to talk about the price. Be aware when you see some of these prices that these are in some cases, I'm not even sure many. None of these auctions, no one ever knows the buyer. A lot of these are just unknowns, right? I mean, it's all private stuff. The belief from a lot of parties is there's a few things going on there. Some of this may be to personal collectors. It's very possible, right? I mean, obviously, some of this is going to personal collectors. A lot of these, are going to investment groups and literally investment firms, like traditional investment firms that are buying and selling art like they would buy and sell stocks. So we're starting to see some absolutely crazy prices on these things, and it's just going up exponentially. It is, I understand if you're a fan and you're like, I actually collect high grade silver, I actually collect mid grade golden age. Maybe one day I could save up for a Detective Comics 27 or a Captain America #1 or a 90 FF1. I just don't think you can. I don't think a lot of these are going to an actual guy who's going to put this on his wall in his man cave. I just don't think that's where these are going. And that is frustrating, I think. Because it's, I mean, I guess there's a part of me that appreciates that this stuff is being seen as actual art and actual, the importance of it. But, the money is what people are mostly looking at. So, there is, I'm not well versed enough, but I've read a few articles on basically the scam that is fine art and how all this stuff is being sold to and how it all goes into tax shelters and it's all being used for tax shelters and it's all just kind of traded among the elite to do all sorts of stuff with. I hate to say that I think comics are headed in the same direction, and I just don't know that any of this stuff is ever going to be on the table again, not unless some crazy laws change to prevent collectibles from being, they would just have to change how this all works, and I don't think it ever will. So, I mean, the press is fun when you get these crazy numbers, but I think we're just good luck. Because I don't think you're ever going to be able to get this stuff. I think it's just going to be priced out of any normal human collector's ability to purchase.
Well, especially when the big auction houses start taking crypto, that's going that. Which they already, I think Heritage does now, or Hakes. One of the two already does.
Well, that is absolutely just going to force the scam and the tax evasion. And
a comic collector, the person you're describing who may be getting depressed when they see these numbers and think they're priced out, you'd be much better off as a collector. This is one person's opinion, so take it. It's free advice on a podcast. Take it for what it's worth. Start shopping in like the 5.0 to 7.0 range. Maybe go up to 8. But when you get into those 9s now, the world has changed, and you may have been left behind.
At the high end. Yeah. Because, I mean, I could see small investment groups like, there's like 25 of us. We're all going to go in and pitch in on like a low-grade action or low-grade detective or low-grade amazing fantasy. Like, I get it. I mean, that's very possible, right? And then you guys split it up over time. But the high-end stuff.
Oh, yeah. And you can still
You're rolling with Wall Street at this point. I just don't think you just can't do it.
On the key books, you can still get really good Silver Age comics that are not the key issues in those high grades. We're talking about the original art, the key covers and splashes and stuff, and the Action 1, Superman 1, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah, the stuff the stuff that actually is going to get invested in is only a handful of books. There's only maybe a dozen
Yeah,
or
yeah.
20. I mean, it's the word grail is thrown around a lot
Right.
in the collecting community. It's a meaningless term because people use the phrase grail for every random fucking garbage book. But these are the actual grails of the comic industry. Amazing Spider-Man 1, Amazing Fantasy 15,
Yep.
FF 1, Action Comics 1, Detective 27, Superman 1, maybe a high grade Showcase 4, stuff like that, But then I don't even think of that. Like, about Wonder Woman, that X-Men. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe X-Men 1, but that's later. There's enough high grade copies of that floating around. We're talking the best of the best. There's not.
Sensation Comics maybe.
Maybe because of solo print run.
Wiz Comics
maybe, but like $1 million comics that if it's not 7 figures, they're not looking at it. Not the big guys. So yeah, get ready for more and more of this. It's gonna continue to happen. I think for quite some time. I do want to talk. I do want to talk briefly too about the NPD Bookscan numbers for 2021. I didn't want to go over this like crazy because there's a million things to talk about. Brian Hibbs, Shop Up San Francisco at a Comic Experience, does he pulls through the Bookscan numbers, which is the yearly sales charts for bookstores, and that includes some comic book stores now through Comic Cup. Hey, we report to Bookscan. Also, most online vendors now, they believe they are up to 85% of the book sales. This does not include direct to customers like Scholastic, which obviously is a big part of Bookscan, or sorry, big part of the comic community, and because obviously Scholastic sells a shitload of comic books now. That said, if you want to look at the growth in the book market in 2021, COVID or not, doesn't matter apparently. Between 2020 and 2021, graphic novel sales via Bookscan was up 61%, from $274 million to $443 million, with over 30 million graphic novels sold through these places that NPD tracks. There is some significant growth, obviously, at the high end, some long-term sellers, a pretty dramatic shift over the last 10, 20 years of what's selling to book sellers. None of this should be a real big surprise to anyone listening because we've covered this pretty regularly. But Dave Pilkey is the master of comic books with no one coming close. Dogman and Cat Kid are absolute, just unreal selling comics. And this does not include sales through Scholastic, which is probably significantly higher than what their sales are here. With the most recent Dogman graphic novel selling almost 1.3 million copies in 2021. Cat Kid, which is one of the newer books by him, at about half that, about 617,000 copies. Every volume of Dogman and Cat Kid is in, I think, the top 15 or something like that, or top 20. The majority of the other books in the top of the charts being sold are the Babysitter Club graphic novels, which again should not really be a surprise. Babysitter's Club has been a huge seller in the book kids market for. When I was a kid, I read Babysitter's Club stuff. I mean, it was a huge book series when I was young. A couple of books by Raina Telgemeier, and then manga. Volume 1s of a bunch of big books. Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man. Again, should be no real surprise at what's selling if you pay attention to the comic industry. He did break down the first DC comic to show up on Bookscan is number 164, the Teen Titans Beast Boy graphic novel, which is one of the kind of tween-aged titles, so obviously that does very well for DC in the direct market. The more traditional comic, the first volume was at number 250, which was Watchmen. So Watchmen, again, in the direct market, outsold, I believe, every new release, classic release of every superhero thing. The first Marvel graphic novel, 892 with Infinity Gauntlet. Now, Scholastic did publish the Miles Morales Shockwave graphic novel, which came in at number 202. But the actual the top graphic novel sold by Marvel was 890 at the number 892 spot in Bookscan, which tracks thousands of books sold. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of books sold. So this is all in the graphic novel category. Manga was ridiculous last year. Sales of so much manga have just been, just crazy. Ton of popularity from stuff coming from Crunchyroll, and the shortage may have caused people to shortage of paper and stock, and COVID caused people to maybe search it out even a little bit more. It just, in the early 2000s, there was a bit of a manga boom and bust. I think that's pretty much done. I think we're not in boom mode. We are in just constant regular growth as these series continue, and there's more and more manga on the market, and significantly more actually being released in America. It used to be very little, and now the vast majority of manga and light novels, that's not a vast majority, a very good portion of manga and light novels are now released in English in America, significantly more than what used to be published in English. So I believe a lot of it, this is just the actual availability. In the 90s and early 2000s, like, you had to seek the stuff out of comic stores. It wasn't available everywhere, but that has changed now. I mean, this stuff is, this stuff sells. It sells really well. I think something like that. What was I looking at before? I think Dogman was something like 10% of all comics sold was that one series alone. So yeah, just crazy, just crazy. There isn't a ton to say about the other companies. I think the difference is the difference between something like manga and what they do with the Scholastic stuff. It's it's deep, not wide. Comics have always gone wide from the very start. There wasn't one Superman title forever, and that's the only thing. From the earliest days of comics, they've expanded out with multiple titles. So I would like to see more taking characters and take every Batman book sold through a year, take every Spider-Man book sold through a year, take every kind of Marvel Universe book sold through a year. Get those numbers, because I think that's a more interesting number than comparing one Dogman issue versus one Batman, or one Dogman comic versus one Batman comic. I want to see some combining of characters, because that is just how the thing sells. I'm not going to say there is tons and tons of books that are selling, manga and the Scholastic stuff sells way better than superhero stuff in the book market. That's always the way it's been. I mean, not always, but that is the way it is now, and that's the way it's been for quite some time. That's not bad. It's great that there's such comics stores have an audience, the bookstores have an audience. There's a lot of crossover, but I saw significantly more Marvel and DC graphic novels than manga or the kids comics. People go different places for different stuff. But they it's interesting to see how much those are the big guys are selling, the big manga titles, the big volume ones, and Randy Telgemeier and Dave Pilkey, that stuff is selling, because those numbers are huge. Now, I actually just thought about this. There's actually I actually wonder if some of this growth is because their schools weren't in session and they didn't have the big book fairs and they didn't have the big. I was as I'm scrolling through the Bookscan, huge report too. By the way, it's on Comics Beat. You can look up Bookscan. Comics Beat is the first thing that'll pop up. It'll take hours to read if you don't want to read through the whole thing. I read it every year. I wonder if that's going to change next year or for the 2022 numbers. As schools are fully open, everyone's fully back to school. Remind me next year. Someone remind me about this thought next year, because it literally just came to me as I was looking through this. I wonder if the kids stuff and the manga is selling significantly better because a lot of people were not in schools and not able to have access to those sales through the schools. That's something to look into. Anyway, it's fascinating stuff. I always like looking through this. And, one more bit of proof that the comic industry not dying. It's great. It's just, there's so much different stuff. Like, this is what everyone has wanted. Comics for kids, comics for adults, comics for, teenagers, comics for everyone. Like, yay, we've done it. We finally did it. I think it's been one of the biggest problems that people have said for so many years, that comic industry is sort of narrow in its focus and it doesn't really hit the big targets. I see a lot of comments online that people are like, oh, how can Marvel let this happen? Like, why don't they sell more? I kind of tweeted about this over the weekend when I was reading on the Bookscan numbers. Why? Do we need Marvel to compete with Dogman? Do we need Batman to compete with Attack on Titan? Why is it a competition? Why do you think they would sell more? Like, if Marvel graphic novel sales are going to go through the roof, and they have at our store, I should say, just not nationally, wouldn't have already happened? MCU's been around for like 15 years. These kids have grown up and they're in high school when Iron Man came out. Wouldn't have it already have happened? There's plenty of Marvel kids comics out there. If Batman was going to sell these numbers, wouldn't it already happen? Like, does it matter? I think the line I said was, why can't good enough be good enough? Like, why does this have to be a competition? I don't get it. It's great that manga's selling great. It's great that the kids stuff is selling great. It's great that single issue comics are selling great. It's great that there's good sales across the board for everything. Why does that have to be a problem? It doesn't. There you go. Comics. Everything's great. It's because you don't make money on YouTube if things are great. You can't make all that hate clicks. You could have some open-faced, open-mouthed derp face on your video about how comics are dying. Actually, that's the way you get clicks.
Right. Imagine the video selling what you just said.
Everything's great.
Yeah. It would be like a 5-minute video. Essentially, you just made the whole case. So there'd be nothing else. Who would come back to that channel?
My wallet's open, a little fly buzzing out of it. Yeah. Everything's great. Don't visit my site. Before we hit a bunch of questions, we got one movie, TV thing to talk about here. I know we'll go. We got a bunch of questions here to answer. Thank you. Everyone sends questions this week. It's a little light on news. Ezra Miller, star of the upcoming Flash movie, star of the Joss Whedon cut and the Snyder cut of Justice League, might not be Flash for much longer. He was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and harassment while in Hawaii. And there was some reports that he was having frequent meltdowns on the set of The Flash, and that Warner Brothers are pausing his Warner Brothers is pausing his future movies and any future involvement they're going to have with him. The rumor, of course, being that he will be exiting the role of the Flash after the Flash movie. All that to say, another source has now come out from Warner Brothers saying none of this is true. So, typical day in Hollywood rumor mill. Nobody knows anything. Doesn't matter. What I will say is, I I actually had someone tell me, "Oh no, they've canceled the Flash movie." Well, no, they haven't. That is patently false. So nobody knows anything. But I'll tell you right now, they haven't canceled the Flash movie. Flash movie's coming out. It's done. The Flash movie's coming out. Everything else, who knows? I don't love him. If he doesn't stick around, fine. They got another Flash. Grant Gustin's right there. They got continuity reason. He could just be the Flash. That's how reboots work. That's how Crisis works. Dude seems like a nut job, but look, Jared Leto's a nut job, and we just reviewed the perfectly C- movie Morbius last weekend, and that didn't stop him from being in, and he'll be in multiple Spider-Man movies. So, what are you going to do? Right? People are crazy. I don't love Ezra Miller, but the Flash movie's coming out. After that, we'll see. Who knows? But I don't know.
It's hard to even say anything about the story because you don't really know. You don't know what happened. All this, Warner Brothers high-level meetings. According to who?
Right. Well, here's what I know about Ezra Miller. Dude's a little weird. That's fine. He threatened to kill the KKK on his Instagram channel. That's cool. He was arrested in Hawaii. That's not cool. The end. And a Flash movie's coming out.
Yep.
That's what we know. Maybe you don't want someone like this working for you, but who knows? We'll see. June 23rd, 2023. Flash movies pushed back a little bit. All the DC movies are pushed back. Hopefully it happens. But there is real news. I didn't put this in the note, but for anyone that was hoping, Warner Brothers and DC Comics is no longer part of AT&T. They are now fully merged with Discovery for Warner Brothers Discovery. Brand new company. Again, Rich Johnson's out there last week before the merger went through saying he's hearing things about DC. Shit, nothing. Nothing's happening. People left. Yeah, that's what happens when things are merged. There's some, usually the heads of companies get shifted around. Usually some people are out at the high level. But the day-to-day operation, something like DC, that's a massive part of Warner Brothers. No, nothing's happening. So, I always reach out to people and I'm like, hey, this is all bullshit, right? And they're like, yeah, I have no idea what we're talking about. Like nothing. Everything's fine. Nothing's happening. We don't know what the hell anyone's ever talking about. It is always funny to see the comments from Warner Brothers and DC people I follow that are very, very sort of, obviously vague, but they're like, my favorite part is how nobody knows anything about anything. They just spitball bullshit on the internet, and it's funny how much they get wrong. I see comments like this regularly. So, there is a part of that. It is part of this podcast, of course, right? I mean, there is. I don't think we're ever there's no ill will in our speculating and guessing and what ifing. But when anyone on a YouTube channel tells you this is happening, don't believe them. Please don't believe them. That's all I'm saying. YouTube is awful. That's all I'm gonna say. That's just what I say. It's just the worst top to bottom. So yeah, just never use YouTube. Only listen to podcasts. That's how you get the real news.
I will let that lay there without comment. So, moving on.
The war of podcast and YouTube continues. Got a bunch of questions here. We're gonna hit up some of these. This is from Jaron. He says, so on the Patreon too, patreon.com/comicconspiracy. Go over there and kick us a buck and post on our Q&A thread. He said, did you guys vote for any of the books in the round robin contest? I would love to see the Alan Scott for the DC round robin contest. This is for a competition for them to release a new book based off a little round robin series. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Talked about the one last year, and we'll discuss that at the end for the winners. I'd love to see Alan Scott or the Hawkman Hawkgirl book win, but I'd like to see all of them at some point. They all sound really cool. I'm curious what everyone's favorite was just based on the pitch. I can guess Ryan's, either Constantine or The Question. Last week, 2 weeks ago, last week. I can't remember when we talked about this. I voted. All right, I voted on all of them. I think of the 8 contests, 6 of the 8 did not go through that I voted for. I voted on round 2, so that's 4. I think 3 of the 4 I voted for were not winning by significant enough margins to have a chance. So apparently, nothing I'm interested in is going to win. Like everything I'm voting for is the wrong one. So we'll see what happens. My favorite. Let me see if I can pull up the list real quick. Do you ever vote on these?
I voted last year, but this year I didn't vote. I looked at it, but wasn't this last week? Was this when the voting was?
You round 2. Round 2. I don't know when it goes up to. It might be through today. So this was April 6th. So this was Wednesday. So we still have another day.
Okay.
Yeah. We talked about the first round. So the second round is Hawkman and Hawkwoman versus Constantine and the Demon. And now we have creative teams, we have art teams, and everything like that. Now, I won't go over everything. John Stewart Green Lantern versus the Ghost Tour from Hell, which is Deadman, Demon, other characters. Yeah. I don't have it here. Suicide Squad versus Kid Flash. That's the Suicide Squad Dark. So it's like a
versus the light, fun, normal Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Okay.
And an Alan Scott Green Lantern versus Superboy, Man of Tomorrow. So actually, I'm looking here at my votes. Okay, no, actually. Hawkman and Hawkwoman versus Constantine. So I voted for Hawkman and Hawkwoman. Constantine won. This is just the Twitter votes, though. It is not the official final vote, so it could change because Twitter is only part of it. But as of right now, I voted for the Ghost Tour over Green Lantern, and that did win. I voted for Suicide Squad over Kid Flash, and that lost. And I voted for Superboy over Green Lantern, and Superboy won. Okay, so 2 of 4. That's not too bad.
I think going by when I first looked at this, I just pulled it up right now to refresh my memory to answer the question. My favorites, without reading through this whole list again, were is the Alan Scott one the UFO one?
Yeah,
that and the Ghost Tour.
Yeah,
were the ones I was most interested in.
At least on Twitter, Ghost Tour did beat Green Lantern. So yeah, Ghost Tour looks good. The Alan Scott one seems cool, but I'm gonna go with Connor every time there. Suicide Squad Dark, it looks fun, but we've had so many squad.
Yeah.
So much squad, and I love Constantine and Demon, but we've had a lot of Constantine stuff.
Agreed.
Too. Hawkman and Hawkwoman, not like that's
my problem with Constantine and the Demon is it's the same with the Captain Carrot and Darkseid. Is it just feels like a gimmick throwing in just to have like a gimmick title. I also was interested in the Wildcat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got lost on the
I'm not surprised that lost. I don't know who the audience would have been for that, but
yeah. I'm surprised they didn't do more of this like an anthology or one-off volumes or DC Comics Presents or something like that, or maybe they're all actually being made and just sitting in drawers just waiting. They're gonna just dole them out one at a time. Who knows? Significant amount of work getting done on this. So fun stuff. I recommend checking those out. A bunch of questions on Twitter too. Let me hit these real quick. From Evans. Anyone reading the best book out there these days, at least as far as art goes? J.H. Williams III's Echolands. I haven't heard anyone talking about it anywhere. It's amazing. The art is amazing. It's the format. I'm telling you. Those sideways comics, they always have a hard time selling. We have told people just they always sell poorly. I'm very excited to get the graphic novel when it comes out and read it because that's the way to read this book. I just do not. I mean, it sold fine. It's just The art's incredible. It's James Williams. He's amazing.
Is this an ongoing or a mini?
No, it's over. I think it was only 5 issues.
Well, okay. I missed this book. I remember when this book was announced, but I have missed it completely. Honestly, the indie shelf at my local comic store is so packed with titles that
so much good stuff.
And I'm not just saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying if you don't know what you're looking for, it's very easy to just see a wall of like colors. So that's a longtime listener, our friend.
Yeah.
And I'm based on Mr. Evans, or it's a Mr., right?
It is.
It's a he, yeah.
He's one of our customers.
Yeah, that's right. I'm making myself a note, Echo Lands. I'm writing on my phone right now to either look at the issues or keep an eye out for the collected edition.
Yeah, the trade's out soon. I ordered it a while ago.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's got to be soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Note is made.
It's James Williams. Amazing.
Yeah. Got it. We can talk about it. At least when Ryan and I will probably read it before Ryan, but we can talk about it.
I will look through it for sure.
Okay. There you go.
I already have. I already looked through the issues. It's incredible.
Yeah.
His art's amazing. Question from Max. He says, anyone in the podcast following do webcomics, Patreon comics? Maybe throw Substack on here. Maybe throw Webtoons on here.
Ryan?
Your pause made me sound like you were getting ready to answer that.
No, yes, some of those Substacks, yes. I don't really enjoy reading the comics on Substack, though. Not that the comics aren't good. I just don't enjoy the format. Didn't
they put their like reader together? Isn't there some like Substack reader now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I don't know if it's fully launched everywhere, but it does exist. Have you read any of them? The Substack comic? No.
Okay. No, I don't subscribe to any of it.
So the Tom King one, and the Brian K. Vaughan are the two that I've been reading. This is not a comic, so this doesn't quite answer the question, but I am just so excited every time I get one of the Grant Morrison newsletters coming in. I'm just like, it is just like just bathing in this nonsense in the best way. I'm using that word as a compliment because it's just it's not a comic. It's the most random collection of entertaining stuff. It's great. I've looked at a few series on Tapas because I know a couple of people who are making comics on Tapas. So out of just friend loyalty, but again, with things like that in Webtoon, and this is for one reader specifically who's talking here. Sometimes if you don't know what you're looking for, much like that indie comics wall, and you just log in the homepage where they're showing like popular titles or however it's arranged, it looks like a wall of manga. Like everything is drawn in that style, or I don't want to say everything. A huge majority of things are drawn in that style, and you just have no way to parse what is good, like this is better than this, or I just need more guidance. It's just too hard.
Yeah, I used to read a little bit of webcomic stuff. Penny Arcade and a couple other random ones, but like not in a long, long time. I don't read any webcomics. I don't read anything on Patreon. I don't read anything on Substack. I don't read anything on Webtoons. I tried to read those DC comics on Webtoons. Mm-hmm. I read like the first issue of the Batman one, and I despise the format. I know Marvel has moved some of their comics over to that format on the Comics Unlimited app, and I again, same thing. I was like, let's see how this. I think they put like the Neil Gaiman Eternals series on that, and I'm like, just no. I absolutely despise the formatting of it. I have no problem with reading comics online. I have the Marvel Unlimited app and DC Infinite, and I have a 10-inch Fire tablet. I love it. It's perfect size to read old comics on. I read a ton of old comics on there. I actually read some of the DC stuff on my phone. It's weird because I have some problems with like the syncing. So I read the Marvel stuff on my tablet and the DC stuff on my phone. I'm reading right now, Kevin. You're like this on the DC app. I'm reading the first issue specials
on your phone.
On my phone. Yeah. So I read Green Team. Okay. I read
Dingbats?
Atlas. So I read them in order. So I read Atlas. I read Atlas is a boy.
I know.
He fit a decade of comics in that one issue. I read Green Team, which was very weird. And I'm reading the Metamorpho one right now, where Ramona Fradon does the art on that. Fantastic. Her art's so good on that.
Dr. Fate is my favorite of those.
So I'm just reading them in order in prepping for Danger Street for the Tom King book. So because I've never read any of these.
So you've still got Lady Cop, right?
Yeah, maybe I've read one or two of these in the past, but not. I never read all of them. So I'm curious to see what I want to see what I want to see what is going on with these. Before we actually get that new series, I want to see what they pull over. But yeah, it's not, for the most part, it's not a hatred of the content. It's just 1,000 other things to read. And I'll say, and this is purely anecdotal, people I know who are heavily into webcomics, subscribe to multiple series and are loyal followers and picking up new series as they debut, do not go to comic stores and get physical comics. Webcomics is their comics diet. Yep. And that's just, it is.
Yeah, that may not be true everywhere. I'm just saying that's been my experience.
Well, and I've said this again for years, and we'll go back to the conversation about NPD, right? It's all great. It's whatever the format is. It's all part of the industry. Webcomics and mini comics and kids stuff and superhero and adult. I mean, how many pages of original comic art and story is made in a given month?
Right.
100,000 between European comics, manga, American stuff, webcomics.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of pages. You just can't read it all. Pick what you like and read it. Yeah, I totally know people that are super big webcomic fans, and sometimes it comes to print. For me, the Substack stuff, right? I mean, I have no interest, but I have no interest in Substack, but I'm obviously picking up We Have Demons, and then it's Comixology one, and dude, the second Tom King's romance comic gets published. Day one, I'm going to buy that, of course. Whoever, I'll try to be a midget Dark Horse or something like that. So, of course, I'm going to buy that. Are you kidding me? I just don't want to read it online. So,
and I think it's great. More comics for more people, a bigger audience, more tastes. I've said this before on the show. I'll repeat myself. The most depressing thing I can think of is a comics industry that only caters to my taste. That just sounds awful. I want comics for every age group, every taste, every type of story, something for everybody. It should be a big tent where everyone's welcome, not in a country club that's only exclusive for people who are well-versed in decades-old continuity. More people, come on in. The water's warm.
Whatever works. That's fine. Christopher Mike says, I'm getting super excited for Judgment Day. I know I shouldn't, but I am. Could it be amazing, or just get ready for disappointment? If by Judgment Day you mean the day the Terminators finally take over and humanity is massacred, I would absolutely be excited. I'm really looking forward.
I thought he meant the biblical Judgment Day. So maybe you're right too.
That too. I'm very excited for the end of all humans finally getting off this planet. If you're talking about Marvel's AXE, Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals crossover, Judgment Day, I would hold your breath. I would hold your breath and see how long it lasts. I would love for it to be good. That's all I'll say. I have no idea. Maybe it's great. I haven't read any of this new Eternal stuff. I heard it's fine. But what a cursed series. Just an absolutely cursed franchise. I just don't.
Which would you rather be the steward of? Eternals or Inhumans? If you were responsible for getting one of those books traction and getting it really going and popular.
Inhumans.
Okay.
100% Inhumans. Inhumans is easy. Easier. It's just putting the Inhumans and having them deal with Earth and being involved in anything is just the mistake of like that's not what they are.
Eternals,
right?
you mean?
No, the Inhumans. No, when they did all the shit, when they tried to remake everyone an Inhuman and the Terrigen Mist that like went around the Earth and all this garbage, like no, Eternals or sorry, the Inhumans for years now has been like that's like their Game of Thrones shit. Like they could do that's what that should be, and how do you mess that up? That is Marvel's like fantasy political series, like is such a great concept. The Eternals is they're just more mutants. It's just kind of more of something that already exists in a better format. So and the movie, whatever the fuck the movie did to the concept, who knows? Like the movie has nothing to do with it. So
I know this ship has sailed, but just put them on their own Earth. Make it like the Squadron Supreme. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like they should have no. Well, look.
I mean, have a crossover like Judgment Day. But other than that, keep them the F out of the Marvel universe. It just doesn't work.
They just don't work.
Yeah.
Well, like, we've talked about Miracle Man coming.
Oh.
What in God's name do you do with Miracle Man in the Marvel universe?
Nothing.
It's just like, it's nothing. It's not the same character. It's like this other thing that...
Right.
It's the same name, but it's not.
My greatest fear of that is going to be like World War Hulk, except with him. Like, in this issue he fights Thor, in this issue he fights the Thing. It's just like I couldn't think of anything less interesting than that.
Yeah, like it's just meaningless.
Yeah.
Like you could do a Astro City-esque Miracle Man world.
Mm-hmm.
The Eternals could be in, with the Eternals as well. So, you kind of homage the traditional characters in their own Squadron Supreme like. Their own original story. That's fine, but like I have no interest in any of these characters ever interacting regularly with the Marvel universe. It just doesn't matter.
So you're excited for Judgment Day?
Look, it's a big crossover. Decent people are working on it, so maybe they've unlocked something. Who knows? I wouldn't hold my breath. Longboard Nerd asks, most anticipated collected editions being released in 2022. Ooh, what are you looking forward to? I don't have a list in front of me, so that's a little bit harder.
Miracle Man Omni for me.
That's coming.
Yep.
I am very excited for the Batman Silver Age omnibus.
Oh, did they announce that?
Yeah, it's been solicited.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Okay.
So they did the Wonder Woman Silver Age omnibus, which gives us an endpoint for the Golden Age, which I believe is 2 more books. So doable. They gave us an endpoint for the Batman Golden Age stuff, which I believe is only 1 more that has been solicited. So again, very doable. I have faith that they are going to run Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman from Golden Age through the Bronze Age. Now, they've collected some of this stuff in various formats, so like the backups, the Batman family, like they don't have to do everything, but action and Superman, Detective and Batman, Wonder Woman and Sensation, and then just Wonder Woman. I have faith that they're going to collect them all, and so that is great. After many years of being very skeptical of DC's graphic novel output, the fact that we now kind of know where they're starting. So let me see if I have a.
I'm also going to add the reprint of the all red Dan Slott Silver Surfer.
Oh yeah. That has easily been one of our most like anticipated reprints for a long time.
And there are some brutal prices on those on the aftermarket. So I'm glad that's coming back.
Yep, very expensive. Batman Silver Age Omnibus is Batman 101 and 116 and Detective 233 to 257. So it's, we're still quite a far first far cry from Neil Adams and everything, but it is, we are approaching some sort of modern day, and I just like that they're actually going to reprint everything.
That Omni is starting with people are when you're thinking that's even way before the yellow oval Batman. This is like late 50s stuff, like 10-cent cover price and Sheldon Moldoff art in a lot of those.
Yeah. I'm not sure why they chose this spot for the break, but I mean, whatever. That's fine. And I'm sure there's other stuff. Nothing's really coming to me. There's so much every month, every week. What am I talking about? Every week, there's so many books that I order. It's just crazy.
I haven't seen a list of what absolutes have been announced for 2022, so there may be something on there as well.
Yeah, I don't remember anything major, but I might be missing it.
I'll also add the Starman Compendium #2.
Oh yeah, wrapping that up.
Yep.
It sucks. The first one immediatly went out of availability. It's coming back, I'm sure, but at some point. But like, it's sold out immediately.
That deserves a rim shot. But, well played.
We're getting to it. From Jay, he says CGC is so expensive. Would you assign a minimum dollar value to comics that make it worth it? If it's worth less than $50, it's not worth sending it in. Is there really much of a boost in value to something that's been CGC graded? So, CGC. We talked a lot about the big auctions sold earlier. I am of two minds of CGC. Modern stuff. Modern minor keys. I'm of three minds. Let's say that. Modern minor keys. Let's say random modern stuff. If it's not $50 ungraded, I don't get the point. People CGC every piece of garbage. I mean, look, if you want a CGC for your own collection, that's fine. But I see people CGCing books and they're selling it for less than it costs to grade and buy the comic and ship the thing. You're talking $30 to grade it. You're talking minimum $10 back and forth for almost everything. It's just not worth it. I really don't. I don't even grade stuff if I don't think we're going to sell it for $100. I don't grade a lot. I send stuff in occasionally, and when we do, it's like if I don't think I can get $100 for it, I don't bother sending it in. Modern major keys: New Mutants '98, first appearance of Deadpool; Batman Adventures 12, first appearance of Harley Quinn; Saga #1 in a 9.8, perfect condition. Something is Killing the Children #1. A 1 in 1,000 incentive variant cover. Stuff like that. If you're going to sell it, yeah, it's probably worth it. People do pay significantly more. If it comes back a 9.8, that is the thing. It has to be a 9.8. You'll get a decent amount of money if it's a 9.6 or a 9.4 or a 9.2. You'll still get some okay money, but the drop is significant on modern stuff because it's modern, 80s to now, 90s to now. It's kind of got to be a 9.8 or people just don't care as much. The price goes up dramatically when you get that 9.8 grade. Silver Age, Golden Age. If you're going to sell it and it's not trashed, at this point, you basically have to get it graded. The prices are so significantly higher. And people they will sometimes, for really big books, for major keys, for that big important issue, if it's ungraded, people will bid on it because they think they're going to be able to get it cheaper and they'll grade it and resell it. I think that's why people are buying raw copies. So many people I talk to, Scott, he's like, sometimes I just want to buy a raw copy because I know it's going to be cheaper and then I'll just get it graded myself. So if I want to sell it, it's worth more. And that's what we were talking before about. You're just not going to get money. You're just not going to be able to afford any of these books because everything gets graded. And that is kind of almost the real price now. The raw copy price is almost that's like the cheap defective price. CGC for old books is just kind of how it's done now. Now that doesn't mean you can't buy raw. I don't carry CGC at the store at all. Everything we get graded, we throw online. I put out tons and tons of raw stuff. but it's usually not anything that's like crazy good. I mean, anything that's super high end or expensive is going to just get graded because it's going to sell for so much more money. In the store, a lot of it's just an inventory thing and storage. They take up so much fucking room. They're so hard to store. I have to completely redo how I do everything. So when we get stuff graded, it just goes online. If it's like a $20 Silver Age book, nah, you don't need to get that graded. It's not worth it. Random Daredevil issue number 72 in like a 2.5. Like, no, don't get that graded. There's no point. Like, you're not going to get it. I mean, get it for yourself, fine. But like, there's no reason to get that book graded. But yeah, if you have anything that's older, that's in good condition, yeah, you and you're going to sell it, you got to get it graded. That is just how it's done now. There's so many books. And again, this isn't a bubble. It's been years and years and years, and it's decades at this point. It's over 10 years. Well, I don't know. CGC is 15 years old, maybe 18. I don't even know when they started. It's like 12, something like that. It has not going away. It's not getting lower. It's not dying off. It's not drying up. It's just bigger every day. So that's just how you do it. Yeah. Sending in a modern book from this week, I don't understand. Do it if you want to, but like, I don't get it.
I also don't understand people sending in their sketches because CGC grades art.
Yeah, well, so CGC and CBCS, they do like verification. Well, CBCS does verification. So I've sent stuff in for that, where they verify signatures, they verify art. That's like a whole nother process. CGC, are they?
No, I've seen some on art sales. You can pay extra to have it CGC art graded.
Right. Okay. So I think that's more recent.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't seen too much of those.
I just don't understand.
Because I know CBCS does it. Encapsulates it. Keeps it safe, I guess. Sure. Yeah. But I don't. Yeah. I don't.
Okay. Oh, by the way, to go back to that last question real quick, what I just remembered, and other than Miracle Man, my number one most anticipated collected edition of this year is the Denny O'Neil Question Omnibus.
Oh, yeah, that's soon, too.
Yeah. Yep. How could I forget? Yep. I've been waiting for a collected edition of that since those trades have been out of print forever. The originals.
Yeah, long time. Long time.
Okay, there. Now we can move.
A question from Brandon. I feel bad. He said, what's your favorite DC animated movie? Under the Red Hood has got to be my favorite. That's what he says. And that's a good one. I have seen that one. There are so many of those DC animated movies I haven't watched. I have so many. I've watched all the early ones. Yep. I just have not kept up the last couple of years. And when I say couple, I mean like 9.
So pick some footage from what you've seen.
Under the Red Hood was good. That is one of the last ones I saw. I like the first Green Lantern one, not the anthology one as much, but
was it First Flight? Is that?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. The first Green Lantern and the first Wonder Woman I thought were pretty solid.
I like the New Frontier.
Yeah, New Frontier and also Superman, they're good attempts. I think the problem is those are very hard to adapt into 80 minutes.
Yeah.
I like New Frontier, but it's just a part of the story.
I like New Frontier in that Darwin Cook had involvement in adapting it.
Yeah, and the art is close to his style and everything. Yeah.
And I remember
one of the better of them.
I haven't seen this since it came out, but I remember liking the Dark Knight Returns adaptation. But again, that's based on one viewing, I don't know, 7 years ago. I don't even know when that came out.
Yeah, there's quite a few I haven't seen. All right, 2 questions, and we're going to get out of here. Last 2. This is from M. It's got a couple. Some of these we talked about. Yes, about supply chain related issues. At this point, nothing is major. Things have kind of come down. I feel we're just sort of nothing's gotten worse. Everything's fine. Honestly, we have no real significant issues. Paper is still happening. Books are getting printed. I think it's maybe taking a little bit longer, but we're really there was a fear of supply chain shortages for comic industry, but it really hasn't happened. Not to us, not to the retail level. I'm sure the production level is having to deal with it, but it hasn't really affected us. A question about some of the big books we're enjoying right now. I think we talked about that quite a few times recently. But he asked about thoughts on DC's Black Label. Now that the line's been around for a little bit, will it last? And yeah, I mean, again, all the rumors was that it was going to get killed right away, and here we are, a couple years into it. Black Label's going strong. Every month there's something, 1 or 2 books. I mean, Wonder Woman Astoria is going to go down as one of the books of the decade, and there's more stuff coming, and just no shortage of Black Label, both the comic format and the large format. It sells great for us, both of them. So, Vertigo stopped eventually. Will this stop eventually? Yeah, maybe, but it's not like some 2-year thing and done. I mean, DC has a lot of imprints that have died fast, but this does not seem to be one of them. I think it's sticking around.
How are those Black Labels, the oversized ones, sell for you?
Great. Again, I read all the comments on the retailer forum of stores. They're like, we just don't even carry them. Nobody likes them. I don't know what store you're at, but like, I don't know what your customers are thinking, but how do you show someone a Wonder Woman Historia? And they're like,
Yeah. I'd rather have it small.
Yeah. How do you show someone the Question book and they're like,
Yeah.
No, thank you.
And that Cliff Chang Catwoman also.
We've sold out of every issue of that, and I don't order small on those.
Yeah.
Batman One Dark Knight, the Jock book. Pass. Like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell? No, they're incredible. Like, remember, they were a little bit before my time, but obviously I've seen them all now. Go back to those Marvel graphic novels from the 80s.
Yep.
Right? Those were big deals.
Yep.
When those were coming out, those weren't like, it's a garbage book, we'll pass. That was like the premier books when they were being published. It's the same mentality here. You know, not everything is going to click. You know, the Superman Lobo one didn't sell very well, and Rogues is doing okay. You know, I mean, some of them are going to just, not everything is going to click, but like, yeah. I mean, they're gorgeous books, gorgeous format, and they're just magazine size. They're not a funky size. People keep saying this, and I don't like. They're the size of a magazine. They fit in magazine bags and boards. They fit in magazine comic boxes. They're the size of a magazine. If you're having shelving issues, 2 Black Label books are the size of 3 comic books. It's like the width if you stack them next to each other. That's all it is. I just stack them on the top of the DC section. They stack fine. Like, I sort them fine. Like, I don't get stores' complaints of the size and the format. Like, what do you mean you don't like them? They're just magazine size. It's a common, everyday, standard size for bags and boards and boxes. Storage it's not a funky size. So, I mean, I think there is a bit of issue with the sideways ones, like we were talking about the J.H. Williams book, like Echolands, because that does not stack on the shelf properly, but it is the size of a comic, so at least it fits okay. I think there is some people are somewhat put off on that because of the formatting. It's sideways. It's a little bit more unusual, but these are just regular comics, just a little bit bigger, the size of a magazine. Again, I think it's way more. I think they're way more manageable than the like the Echolands and the Sideways books. I don't know. I think they're great. Agreed. Finally, one of our regular listeners, 7-2 Gideon Falls, big fan there of multiple image books, asked the question on everyone's mind. Great question to go out on. We know he's listening. So maybe he'll jump on the forum and answer in 6 to 9 months. When will Bryce be back on the podcast? Seems to be at least over a year since his last appearance. There's literally no reason to believe there hasn't been clips recorded and never aired. # release the Bryce cut. So, little known fact, Bryce is alive and well. He is on our Facebook group. He is in the Comic Conspiracy podcast.
Yep.
our group that I post all the links into every single week with an open invite to any of the people that are around to be able to jump on at the same time. Well, we have 2 different recording times now, but we bounce back and forth between the weeks. Plenty of notice.
Mm-hmm.
He knows every single week when we're recording. He has every ability to jump on. Now, I know he's listening, but for the new listeners, maybe he can jump on and then the Facebook group and explain his absence. I just think he's scared. I think he'll have to finally admit that he's just not reading a lot of comics these days. He's not up on any of the Marvel shows. I mean, they're still better than DC, but you know, he can't actually defend his opinions. So that's my thoughts.
You know what? I bet you are. I know you're trolling him, but I bet there's an element of truth. I bet he is way behind on comics and watching things.
He is. No, I actually have talked to him. He has. I think he's got a couple kids. He's super busy. I think a lot of it is he is just not current on stuff. And you know, he's welcome to be here anytime he wants.
Yep.
I just think it's tough to, you know, it's just tough for his schedule and everything. So. Yeah.
At least have him come on and read the outro, so we can relaunch the bet of the timing. I missed that bet.
Add 45 minutes to the 45 minutes to the podcast.
When you download the podcast, listeners, and you see a 3-hour runtime and it's not a movie review.
Yeah.
It's because Bryce is reading the plugs and the Patreon names at the end.
I will bug him. Have him come on. I'll actually tell him, like, hey, why don't you plan to come on sometime and have him try to figure out if there's a day that makes sense for him to jump on here for
tell him to come on. Tell him to come on for Doctor Strange or something. If you give him like a mission, an assignment.
I don't think he's seen any of the movies when they come out. I don't think he's current on any of that stuff. I just don't think he goes to the movies. He said he's just not going out to that stuff. He hasn't watched them. So like, I maybe he's seen a few of them, but at this point, but I think he hasn't seen a couple of them, a couple of recent ones. But I mean, maybe that'll be the motivation to get him out there.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if you, rather than just telling him, hey, you should come on sometime, if you give him like a homework assignment or something like, to read this or watch this or something, then he can.
Yeah.
It might be better. I don't know.
I'll harass him. All right, that's it. Lovely podcast. Brock's power is still out as of the text, so that's all right. Brock will be back next week. He never misses a podcast anyway, so very rare. Hey, we have to thank some high-tier Patreon backers: Joe Duff, Kelsey May, Craig Anderson at clearpathcoaches.com, Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum podcast, and Talon Bray. Thank you all very much for your continued support of the Comic Conspiracy podcast and everyone else that donates to us over at patreon.com/comic conspiracy. Kick us $1 a month, and you have a Q&A thread. You can post some questions on there, get first crack, and send us some messages, and that's about it. ComicConspiracyPodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, where you can find all our previous episodes. Go check those out. And if you go to comicsconspiracy.biz, you can purchase books on there from us for delivery or pickup. All sorts of stuff getting added. We're starting to get a lot of our, just started, but sale stuff on there, discount books. We have tons and tons of stuff that are going to be on the site soon. Over the course, I mean, it's going to be forever, not soon. It's going to be going on there, and then that's the future of the store. Tons and tons and tons of stuff on our website that are in our warehouse and overstock, and we got stuff on eBay. Tons of stuff online now. Conspiratobrock.com. That's Brock's blog. Pull lists, unboxing videos, all their stuff that he posts over there. Check that out. Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast. That's Charlie's Doctor Who podcast. You can check out Kevin's interview series called Between the Panels at fanbasepress.com every week, interviewing a cool new comic creator. Kevin?
Actually, let me plug it this time since it's been a while since I plugged it. This month, I was going to ask. Two guests. Daniel Warren Johnson was last week. And Dan and I had a great conversation. And normally when we have these chats, I kind of edit down the interview, tighten it up to just get to the kind of the main points. And Dan's request was, please leave the whole thing as is so you can read our entire epic conversation about lots of different topics in comics and out of comics. And then next guest coming up is Eisner and Hugo winning artist Tana Ford. Most fans would probably connect her with Silk. She was there at kind of the birth of that character for Marvel, but has done a lot of other work as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, Daniel Ward Johnson stuff is super cool.
Yep.
And my wife, Leanne, leannehill.com is our website, and you can find her art at etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. You can purchase her stuff on there. We have it at the store, too, for all her prints. If you were on Twitter, you can harass us. Ryan Higgins, Ryan is me. Brock is Brock Sager. Toby is Toby XI. Charlie is Insanity and Chaos. Kevin is That Kevin Sharp, and the store is Comics Con Store. And should have a new episode of Geekbox up next week. Talking about all video games and other nerdy stuff. And our good friends over at Manga Machinations. Go check them out. Talking about manga and anime. All right, that's it. We are done. We'll catch you next week. Goodbye, everyone.